Just checking Fjord's been filming. Oh, that's so you decide that you might be able to go and do I think it's in the States or somewhere.
Short response.
That box for? I'm getting clarification on anything from any side.
All right. You had to try. Yeah, sorry, I was meant to say I wasn't sure it was you or not, Anita. Yeah. John's here, you know.
Yeah.
I spoke to him.
Yeah. And so I sent you a photo. There's another one. She looks good, doesn't she? Very grown up.
She's over 30.
Yeah, I know.
Looks younger than she
She looks well. Very well. And I really like Monday. I like espionage, money laundering.
Quite a serious little charge, isn't it?
Even picking up somebody on the side of the road.
Oh, that's right. Could you put on a car with a broken leg?
I keep on saying that Fanny, I'll come and visit her. She's got nothing to worry about. Like, she cannot get over here. That right, I said, don't worry, he got nothing to worry about. I can't get very money and even time and just can't. When I get to Europe, I'll it might be next year. Yeah, I sent her that video. The video you made for me. I sent her that night. She loved it. No, I only sent to her. Remember, I said.
But she didn't say anything to me. I'm on the messenger. She's your messenger.
Whatever it is, I sent to her and she liked it. I'll show you the message she sent back to me. I sent to her that night. Yeah, the message, that was only for Fanny.
Yeah.
Not what for the will.
No.
It didn't make any sense to the rest of
No. Yeah.
No.
Has she changed?
No, she's on Facebook. I can't remember. Can we do it later on?
Yeah.
Or just later on? I'll give it to you. Yeah, of course, yeah. He's got, I don't think he's going to go on the march, so it's going to be after this.
I'm finding it hard to keep track of all of them.
Thank you everyone for coming out here today. We know that on a Saturday 2 p.m. in Melbourne isn't the greatest time to have a protest. So we thought it was extremely important that we come out and acknowledge the horrors that Palestinian prisoners are facing in Israeli prisons and gulags right now. For many Palestinians, including myself, we've had long history of family being in and out of Israeli prisons, targeted, oppressed, young children, men and women. And this is a common experience of our Indigenous brothers and sisters here in Australia as well, where they experience high rates of incarceration, targeting, racial profiling, and their youth disproportionately higher representation in those prison systems and higher rates of mental health and suicide. Indigenous people on this land and around the world have been subject to oppression and a denial of their existence and their experiences. So I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation in which we meet today. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I acknowledge their deep connection to this land and their long history of resistance for their own independence. As a Palestinian, I acknowledge that this land was never ceded. This always will be, and always will be, always Aboriginal land.
Yeah.
Always. They are still the traditional and original custodians of this land. And Palestinians find themselves a 10-month-long massacre, genocide in Gaza. It's not our first experiences of genocide or ethnic cleansing. Israel has a long history from its very inception of massacring Palestinians in the most brutal way. Shame. They have a long history of incarcerating and targeting young men, women and children. They don't distinguish. Myself, I've had family, in fact every single uncle on my mother's side and my father's side in Israeli prisons. I currently have cousins in Israeli prisons right now. And every Palestinian will tell you a story of their experiences under Israeli apartheid rule. And that prisoner experience is fundamental in that system of domination and oppression. It's a way in which it can control and try and break the spirit of the Palestinian people. But they have not been able to succeed because our spirit is not broken. And regardless of the brutality and violence that they inflict and the depravity of their own humanity, we have not been broken. Our bodies have been broken. Our limbs, our homes have been destroyed, but our spirit, our history of resistance, our humanity, our very identity of being Palestinian can never be taken or broken. And so we come out every single day, every single week. In fact, in Melbourne, we've come out every single week, every Sunday for the last 43 and 40, I think it's the 44th week now. We don't count it. It's about that history of resistance. But we come out time and again because Palestine needs us. But every single person who believes in humanity, who believes in the human spirit and equality, will come out time and again. Because Palestine symbolizes every single one of our fight against oppression, every single person. So thank you everyone who've come out today, because I know Melbourne doesn't make it easy. I'd like to also introduce David. David is also the co-MC with me today. He is a long-time Palestinian activist and supporter. He is a Jewish man. And we stand side by side together every single week. I'd like to introduce our first speaker. You may have seen her in the protests and out in your communities. Her name is Sarah Borani. She is a member of the Islamic Council of Victoria. She is an amazing young woman. And she's an inspiration to a lot of us in the community. So please give her a warm welcome, Sarah Borani. From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free!
from the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free!
free, free Palestine,
Free, free Palestine!
free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we are all gathered on today and paying my respects to elders past, present and emerging. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Always was, always will be.
Aboriginal land!
Always was, always will be.
Aboriginal land!
Just as Palestine always was and always will be Palestinian land. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free!
Today we stand here in solidarity with the Palestinian prisoners who have been imprisoned by a system designed to work against them. Shame.
Shame!
Prisoners who have been taken without any cause. Prisoners who have been arrested and remained imprisoned without any charges against them. And those of them who do have charges against them have charges against them put by a state designed to work against them, designed to keep them imprisoned, designed to oppress them. And our government knows this and chooses to do nothing. Shame on them.
Shame!
Criminals.
Now, this week, Palestinian prisoners have been at the forefront. If you've been paying attention on the news, you've seen just how vile the Israeli government and the Zionists are. They have been fighting, shamefully fighting. It's so disgusting, I don't even want to say it. They have been fighting for the right to rape Palestinian prisoners. In what universe? In what universe is that even a debatable topic? In what universe is that allowed? And not only allowed, but our government sits by and allows it to happen. Shame. To date, they have failed to impose sanctions on Israel. They have failed to impose a boycott of Israel. Shame. And they have failed to divest from Israel as well. What more is it going to take? What more? The stories coming out of Palestinians who have been imprisoned are horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. But we must not forget, Gaza is also a prison. It is the world's largest open-air prison. We're not just talking about Palestinians who have been arrested by IOF soldiers or by the state. We're talking about people, the Palestinian people, who are subjected to oppression, subjected to imprisonment on a daily basis. The occupation needs to end. And our government needs to take immediate action to help it come to an end. Using words is not enough. It has been calling on Israel to abide by international law for months now. Have words been listened to? You tell me. Has Israel been listening to our government? What's necessary? Action. Action. Action is necessary. Action, like the action we're all taking right now standing here. The action that you all take when you go into work wearing your kufiyah or wearing your watermelon pins. The action that we take every single week, showing up outside of the state library every single Sunday. The action that we all take at our local actions. Calling our MPs, emailing our MPs, we cannot rest. This is a democracy, for God's sake. And democracy means that we need to pressure our representatives to listen to us. And if they don't listen to us, make them listen. Rally outside of their offices. Continue to march out on Sunday, every single Sunday. Show up. Call their officers. And if they take it as harassment, so be it. Because taking a couple of calls is nothing. Nothing compared to the oppression that the Palestinian people are facing on a daily basis. They don't want to face the truth, but we have to make them. We have to make them. We cannot stop. We cannot rest. I know it's been long, very, very long 9 months. But it has been much, much longer for the Palestinian people. It has been a long 76 years. The work that we're doing right now is the least that we can do. We need to continue to band together. We need to continue to be united. We need to continue to stand firmly for justice. And if our politicians aren't going to listen to us, local council elections are coming up. Show them what matters. Our votes. Our votes are what matter. We are the ones that have elected them. They are there to represent us. And if they don't represent us, well, we can find somebody else who's willing to do the job. Do not keep Palestine out of your thoughts. Do not keep Palestine out of your breath. Keep advocating for Palestine. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine is almost free, guys. We have to believe that. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Thank you, Sarah. We're here today. We're a little bit taller now. We're here today 300 days since Israel launched its genocidal attack on Gaza. 300 days. And every week we've turned out for those who have died amongst the rubble of Gaza. 186,000 is now the conservative estimate. The bodies that have been recovered, the bodies that may never be found in the rubble. But today is a day where we place a particular focus on the thousands of people detained by Israel, almost always without charge and without legal rights. Something like 10,000 people in Israeli jails and concentration camps. Today, the rally was called by the Palestinian Prisoners Society, and we are not alone. We are not the only people protesting for prisoners. It is a global day of action. And I want to quote one of the victims of Israeli terror who urged us to be here today, and that is the leader, or one of the key leaders of the Palestinian resistance movement, Ismail Haniyeh, who was murdered by Israel in Tehran, in Iran, just, 3 days ago. And earlier this week, he found the time to say this: the Palestinian movement looks forward to the 3rd of August, today, being a pivotal, visible and effective day in all parts of Palestine, in the refugee camps and diaspora, in our Arab and Islamic world, and among all free people in the world, in order to support our people in the Gaza Strip and to free our prisoners in the occupation's prisons. I think we need to remember the way that prisoners are being treated. Of course, the Palestinians have explained for a long, long time now the horrors, and their views have now been endorsed. Last weekend, by Amnesty International, just this week on Wednesday by the United Nations. And they have both issued reports that absolutely endorse the voices of Palestinians, that Israel is carrying out torture, waterboarding, shackling, the use of dogs, sexual assault, holding people in fixed positions until their muscles scream in agony, depriving people of enough food and enough water. That is the reality of the so-called only democratic state in the Middle East. A land of terror, a land of torture. Let's just highlight two examples before we move on to our next speaker. One of those is a woman who was interviewed by Amnesty International. She was arrested, separated from her two children, one 4 years old, one 9 months old, and held amongst hundreds of men. She was accused of being a Hamas member, beaten, forced to remove her veil and to be photographed without it. And then, on the third day of detention, they put her and others in a ditch, threw sand over them, fired shots into the air, and told her that her husband had been executed. That is the greatest democracy in the Middle East in action, torturing a woman, separating her from her children. And then I think we all know about the example of the sexual assault, the rape of a Palestinian man in the detention center, the concentration camp in southern Israel at Stetaiman. He was raped, and even the Israeli police thought maybe they'd gone a step too far. And when they went to arrest the soldiers involved, MPs, members of the Knesset, of the parliament, and right-wingers invaded the base, pushed their way in past the police, and demand that no one should be punished. Well, we stand here demanding justice. We stand here demanding that those prisoners are freed. I'm about to introduce our next speaker. I just want to tell you that volunteers from Free Palestine Melbourne will be going around the crowd collecting funds, so please give generously. Our next speaker is a remarkable person who is literally flying out later today to, I believe, Turkey, in order to take part in a freedom flotilla. It's Robert Martin. Welcome, Robert.
Melbourne, hello. You are the envy of most countries in the world for your steadfastness and your turning up every week. I know this is a small group, but it is a Saturday group, and I know tomorrow will be very large. Now, I just want to acknowledge the Palestinians here. Where are you? This is why we're here. We're here because of you and your people. You have been ignored for far too long. That's finished. Nothing will be the same for Israel, and everything will be different for the Palestinians. We know that Israel celebrates taking Palestine because they call it their Independence Day. So they admit it. That's their day. Won't be for long, because Palestine will have its own Independence Day. From the river to the sea, we will all be sitting here breaking bread and enjoying it. Now, today is International Solidarity with the Palestinian Prisoners, which to me doesn't make too much sense. Every Palestinian is a prisoner before they become a prisoner. They cannot leave their villages, they can't leave their homes, or if they do leave their homes, sometimes they can't go back. Children are prisoners. Pregnant mothers are prisoners. The dead are prisoners, because Israel doesn't often give the bodies back. There are 10,000 Palestinian prisoners today. 3,500 of those administrative detention. No charges. None. 3,500 Palestinians locked up without charge.
Criminal.
This is why we will resist. It's the inaction of our governments that caused October 7. The Western governments must be held responsible. because we have allowed Israel, the pariah state, to do as it pleases. Penny Wong came out representing an Australian worker, saying that they had done their due diligence, found a little bit of negligence, but nothing else. Now, we know what that was. That was a targeted attack. And do you know why? Because they don't want people to go there. They do not want people. They kill journalists because they don't want their war crimes coming out. They want to stop people. No longer. It's out. The shit is out of the bottle. There's a gentleman that you may have heard. His name is Mohammed al-Habibi. Did I get that right? World Vision. He was told that he had stolen $60 million. He was in jail for 6 months without charge. 130 times he went to court. Our government said that there was no evidence that money had been siphoned out. They used the word Hamas. Our government knows that that money was not taken. The amount of money that he was accused of taking, they have never taken that amount in their life. Do you hear about that? World Vision. World Vision. That's what they do. UNRWA, same thing. Whatever they say sticks. Our governments allow it to continue. We will not. The rallies on Saturdays are getting bigger. People in Palestine see you. I get messages all the time because they know I'm from Melbourne. I get thanked a lot for what I do, but I am the one that needs to thank the Palestinian people for welcoming me into their community and treating me like family. I have become a better person because of you. I'm a better father, a better friend, a much better person. So thank you for having me. I leave to the Mediterranean today. I'm going to fly out and I'm going to be a part of the Gaza flotilla. Now, you may have heard about the flotilla. Really short snap, 2010, Israel boarded international waters, killed 10. 9 executed, shot in the head, 1 died 4 years later. Have you heard about that from our government? The fleet and flotilla was supposed to be a much bigger group. People talk about helping Palestine. People talk about holding Israel to account, but they're not letting the main boat out. 10 to 20,000 tonnes of aid not being allowed to leave a country. Complicity. I fly out and then I'm on the Handala, which is a small boat. I need all of you to grab one of these. I need you to Google Freedom Flotilla because I need you to watch us. There's a GPS on the boat and I need you to watch us. We plan on going to 100 nautical miles out and then we're going to go to Gaza. The reason we're doing it is to expose Israel for the hypocrisy. They say that aid's getting through the borders. We know it's not. We're going to show exactly what they do in the ocean, stopping people from going in. Free Palestine. Let's not stop talking about Palestine. Keep posting about Palestine. Algorithms start to get stopped where we can't keep doing it. Share, repost, comment. The day is coming. We know what side we're on. We know that this is our time. This is our time to make a difference to the world. And we're going to do it. All of you, everyone across the world helping Palestinians. Woo! Free Palestine.
Thank you, Robert. And I can just say that you've been a wonderful family member since you joined us at our Palestinian homes. And you're always welcome. And in fact, every single one of you is always welcome. There is one thing that the Israeli state and our government have not been able to crush. And the sense is this sense of community that we have built together as we come out and speak for Palestine every single day and every single week. They have tried to silence us, they have tried to scare us and intimidate us, but we still come out every week because we know when there is one person standing next to us, there are hundreds and thousands and millions more. Our voice is united. Together amplifies Palestine. And for decades, they have been able to control what people see, what people hear. But the truth has come out. We have seen their horrors. Every single one of you has. And we stand together for Palestine. Do we stand for Palestine? Yes! Do we scream for Palestine? Yes! Do we chant for Palestine? Yes! Is Palestine in our hearts? Yes! Is Palestine on our lips? Yes! And that is what matters. For decades, Palestine has been silent. No one knew about Palestine, but now they can no longer hide it. So free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Thank you, everyone. Now our next speaker, I think you all know him. You've seen him every week at the Sunday protests. You've seen him on our television screens. You've seen him attacked in the media. Please give a warm welcome to Nasser Mashdi, a Palestinian man, an activist, a campaigner, and a leader of our community.
We just need a quick shout because Rob's leaving. Rob! Rob! He's leaving. It's easy to talk the talk, it's harder to walk the walk. It's easy to talk the talk, it's harder to walk the walk. 300 days of genocide, 300 days of murder that sits on the back of 75 years of genocide. This is just an uptick in the Zionist program, in the Zionist regime of settler colonialism. And we know what settler colonialism is. We know what it looks like because we've seen it here. It's the vanquishing of an indigenous people, replacing them in the pursuit of land, of resource, of money. Greed, absolutely. 300 days of genocide, but also 300 days of Western complicity, as Sarah talked about earlier on, as Rob mentioned, with Mohammed al-Halabi, who sits imprisoned in an Israeli gulag. As well as those 10,000 prisoners Rob talked about, we've got to talk about the 2.3 million hostages that are in the concentration camp of Gaza. All of them is a hostage. Every one of them should be free. But also, when we talk about the apartheid regime of Israel, every Palestinian is impacted by that Zionist regime. Whether it's me here on stolen land, my children, or every Palestinian on this earth. In the past week, we have seen the Zionist barbarity exhibited in its full display of impunity, in full bravado. We don't care. Zionism doesn't care what anybody thinks of it. Because if it actually cared, it would behave like a normal country, but it's not a normal country. It's a hate-filled, racist, genocidal apartheid regime. And shame on everyone that supports it. From our alternative Prime Minister on his tour of Israel. But we saw what that impunity and that bravado looks like in the assassinations of Fuad Shukr in Beirut and in Tehran of Hamas's leader Ismail Haniyeh. Fascist, Zionist, genocidal, apartheid Israel on full display, but this is not new for Israel. Israel has been assassinating Palestinians and anyone that stands up for Palestine through its foundations, from Jewish terror gangs in the 30s and 40s, through to the IOF today. An Israeli journalist an Israeli journalist, no peacenik, Ronan Bergman. He wrote a book called Rise and Kill First. And he claims, and the book was published in 2019, that Israel had committed 2,300 of these campaigns since its inception. 2,300, killing thousands of people. This is the Zionist ideology. This is genocidal Israel state policy. No other nation is as forthcoming in telling the world that it kills people in extrajudicial assassinations, wantingly, whenever it wants, with impunity, never being held to account. The criminal apartheid state. In 1944, they assassinated a British politician, Walter Guinness, who opposed illegal Jewish immigration. They assassinated Count Folke Bernadette, a UN appointed official who saved Jews in the Holocaust. They assassinated him. They assassinated anti-Zionist Jews. They will continue to assassinate. It is state policy. It is a policy of hatred. Zionism is racism.
And terror.
And terror. And we know that Israel's not interested in peace. We know it's not interested in peace. In November, Ismail Haniyeh offered all of the hostages and peace and a two-state solution. And they still assassinated him. Israel doesn't want peace, P-E-A-C-E. They want peace, P-I-E-C-E, every piece of Palestine. 10 days ago, 14 Palestinian factions met in Beijing and agreed on a unity deal. And what better way to fracture Palestinian unity, what better way to end negotiations but to kill Ismail Haniyeh. Every assassination has only hardened the resolve of the Palestinians. Whether it's Hussein Kanafani, Naji Ali, Kamal Nasser, Abu Jihad, Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, Abdullah Aziz, Al-Rantisi, Yasser Arafat, Ismail Haniyeh. Glory to our martyrs. These assassinations will only inspire a greater and more unified response. Palestinians will win or we will die. There is no giving up for Palestinians. We will not give up. The only solution is the end of the settler colonialist enterprise, and that needs the help of every one of you. Settler colonialism never ends in and of itself. Don't rely on the goodwill of hate to end. It needs each and every one of you in actions like Rob's going to undertake now in Gaza and in so many others. Colonizers only have one option. They only have one option, and that's absolute violence. That's their only option. They need to eliminate the indigenous people. They need to annihilate the indigenous people. But they will not succeed in Palestine. They will not annihilate the Palestinians. We are a threat to them as we are a threat to the entire empire, which is why from the sycophantic Arab regimes through to the whole world, they are standing with Israel, when they should be standing with the Palestinian people for justice and freedom. This is no time to stop. It's day 300. It's day 300 and time to redouble your efforts and to renew your commitment to Palestine, to renew your commitment to justice and humanity. We have to keep fighting. They are dehumanizing us. We must humanize us. They siege and imprison us. We must break the siege and break the prison. They've raped our prisoners. They've killed our innocents. They massacred our journalists, our doctors, our nurses, our academics, our leaders, our women, our men, our children with impunity, but we will hold them to account because Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. And you should know, you must know and hold this dear in your hearts that Palestinians will keep on fighting. Fighting is in every grain of our resistance. If you cut us in 10, you will fight 10 pieces. We will not stop. Palestinians will fight in every grain of their body, every inch. They will try and liquidate us, but they will fail. We were born Palestinian. We were born Palestine. We will live Palestine. We will die Palestine. We will never give up. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be
From
free.
the river to the sea.
Palestine will be
Thank you,
free.
everyone.
Thank you, Nazar. That was absolutely inspirational. And if anybody thinks there was a tiny bit of exaggeration in that speech, I want to tell you there was none. This is what the Israeli Minister of National Security said on the 1st of July. This is the man in charge of the prison system and the detention system. He is essentially a fascist by the name of Itamar Ben-Gvir. And what he said about Palestinian prisoners, and he has a so-called duty of care, is they should be killed with a shot to the head, and the bill to execute Palestinian prisoners must be passed in a reading in the Knesset, in the Israeli parliament. Until then, we give them minimal food to survive. This is a country where a government minister openly talks about annihilating prisoners, many of them who have faced no charges. And that man, and people like him, dare to say to Jewish supporters of Palestinians that we are traitors because all Jews have to stand together. And I say, no way, not in my name, not in the name of young Jews and older Jews who have stood up against Zionism here in Australia, in America, in Britain. Ben-Gvir stands for ethno-nationalism. He stands for racial annihilation of the Palestinians, for ethnic cleansing. He stands for colonialism. He is a proud supporter of Western imperialism. Well, I'm here to tell you now that so many of us are sickened by the allegations that somehow all Jews stand with Israel. We are revolted by Israel. We are revolted by the torture. We are revolted by the treatment of Palestinians and the attack on Gaza and the attacks taking place in the West Bank as well. Let's not forget the West Bank. I stand for freedom, equality for all in Palestine. I stand for one state, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, atheist, Druze, from the river to the sea. Before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to promote a film night that's taking place this evening in Northcote. It's a free showing of a film called 2 Kids a Day. It's about the treatment of Palestinian children in Israeli prisons. You can see the movie, and there'll be a conversation with the producer and the director. And that will be tonight at 7 o'clock at Black Spark, which is 126A Gladstone Avenue in Northcote. If you didn't get those details, come up and ask me after the rally is over. The next speaker is someone who's spoken before many times for peace and equality and for Palestine. He is the father of Julian Assange, but he is a peace activist of long standing in his own right. This is the first time we've had the chance to hear him speak since Julian was free, and one day we hope that Julian is recovered enough from his ordeal to come and speak himself. But in the meantime, please make welcome John Shipton.
So many familiar faces that have been fighting for Julian's freedom and fought successfully for Julian's freedom. So, congratulations. The next job may be a bit harder. By their actions we shall know them. 1947, November. The partition of Palestine. Yes. 1947, November. The partition of Palestine. 54% by 44%. The Arabs, representing the Christians and the Muslims, objected as they were the principal polarity there, more of them. They also own the land, most of the land. And that was the start of where we came to today. 1967, Resolution 181. Sorry, Resolution 242. Israel to retreat to the 1967 borders. Ignored, derided, spat upon. Ismail Haniyeh in Ramadan last month, his family, his sons and his grandchildren were murdered. The man who was raped by 9 men with sticks died yesterday. Let's examine what their actions produce and bear witness to it and strengthen our hearts with a determination that's a resolution stronger than iron. The Lancet estimates 186,000 dead. Paul Craig Roberts estimates 500,000 dead. Ambassador Charles Freeman estimates 600,000 dead. Ralph Nader at Christmas estimated 200,000 dead. We mourn them, every single one. 21,000 children dead. Let it sink in. 21,000 children dead. 17,000 amputations of children's limbs. By their actions ye shall know them. Polio has now broken out in Gaza. Hepatitis, 40,000 children have hepatitis. Dysentery, it's common. You know what dysentery means? You shit yourself to death. Sorry for my crude words, but there's no other way that together we can face and evaluate them by their actions. Before October, 500 trucks per day came into Gaza to feed 2.2 million people. Last week there were 54. Starvation. They deliberately starve 2.2 million people, or those that are left. Deliberately. Calculatedly. They boast about it. Cockroaches in a bottle, they say, running around. Take it into your heart. Harden your heart against the imprecations of innocence that these people carry on with, and mount sympathy that steels the soul to ensure that we participate in the alleviation of this great crime, this monstrous crime. We speak of the prisoners here today, but I speak of the 2.2 million that are clearly imprisoned. Those prison walls have 3 layers of protection, automatic machine guns, drones constantly. You hear the sound when you listen to the scalding videos that come out. You hear the sound of the drones overhead. We witness that men walking home. The other day I saw one, I can't get over it, and forgive me for mentioning it, but a family came with white flags. A sniper shot one of the kids. The other members of the family went out to rescue. They were shot. There was one child whimpering on the ground. Whimpering. His uncle went to get him. His uncle was shot. And then they shot the child. Take it into your heart and steel yourself to participate in the fullness of righteousness, to bring alleviation to the people of Palestine. For if we know that they will do that to children, we know that they can do that willingly to ours. It hangs over the Middle East like a black cloud. Grief, incandescent rage. And just, a last comment. In my view, it has been the determination of the United States and its allies to destroy the Ummah. That is the umbrella of the Islamic civilization, to reduce it so that those followers of Muhammad, peace be upon him, see that he cannot protect them, that their God is impotent. That is their determination, to destroy a flower of human life, a civilization. You don't believe me? I can name them. Sudan, broken up. Libya, smashed beyond repair. Iraq, reduced where children, anyway, Syria, still struggling with occupation. Entire cities destroyed. Fallujah, Mosul. That's the determination that these people have. By their actions ye shall know them. And together, after this day, I work with you constantly to alleviate this murderous impulse that's turned these ordinary people into monsters, possessed as they are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. I thought, since we've all sort of talked about Israel and its depravity, I thought I might talk about some of the stories of Palestinians very quickly resisting that depravity. So I, as a Palestinian woman, and many of us Palestinians in our community, we have stories of our own families living under this oppressive regime and resisting in small ways every single day. In fact, when I was born during the first Intifada, the first Palestinian civil uprising. And I grew up on stories of my father, my uncles, my aunties, my grandma, and the whole community and their friends trying to fight for liberation and justice trying to resist this oppression. And it was meted out with extreme violence. In fact, my father lost 10 of his friends. One in particular was shot dead trying to hang a Palestinian flag on the roof of his home. Another was shot protesting, sniped in the head. He tells me a story of his other friend. At the time they had a policy of breaking the bones. Look it up. Where they would pick up Palestinian men and break their bones and leave them lying on the side of the road. And if you would try and help them, they would shoot you dead. And his friend lay dying in the streets, and no one could help him. I grew up on stories of not knowing where my uncle was because he had disappeared. And we found out that he had his arms broken, he'd been shot in the leg, and he'd been thrown in a trash can. But he survived. And they rounded him up and threw him in a prison. And it was the prisoners that helped him put his bones together and wrap and cast him with scraps. He still has the bullet in his leg. They couldn't get that out. He still has some mobility in his arms. Now, we didn't find him until 3 years later. We grew up on stories of our grandmothers trying to resist the oppression and breaking rocks and stones because it's the only means that they had in gathering dirty water from their laundry to throw at the soldiers. You grew up on stories and songs and dance and art that lifts the human spirit and the spirit of resistance. Palestinian families are built and raised on a spirit of resistance. It's a resistance for our own humanity. It's a resistance for our own families, our own communities, for our own self-identity. And as we see the images of our children and their limbs disattached and burned, of men and women and children leaving these concentration gulag prisons and their bodies beaten and their minds broken, you remember the hundreds more that came before them. And yet we still stand every single day resisting. Every one of us has those stories. For me, it's the story of my grandfather, actually. He was a poet. He loved romance. He loved the writing of Gibran Khalil Gibran and Mayzuyada, who I'm named after. And he used to dream of a free Palestine. And he used to preach and talk and orate about peace and justice and freedom. But see, the Israeli state feared this. They feared the word, the voice of a Palestinian. Because we've always spoken about justice, about humanity. This is our culture. This is part of our identity. And they feared it so much that they threw him in prison for 8 years, but he still wrote and he still spoke. Eventually, though, he got too sick and he had to be released from prison. But see, they weren't done with him, so they took my uncle to serve out his sentence. When then he got too sick, they took the next one after him. So the Israeli state doesn't care about your humanity. They don't care about your dreams. They are there to oppress and steal and murder. It is a state built on ethnic cleansing, and it is continuing to ethnic cleanse. So we resist. We resist. We resist. We resist. Our next speaker and final speaker is a Palestinian woman who was born in Gaza. She's only been in Australia for 2 years. Her name is Jada Abu Musa. She's a Palestinian activist. She is from Khan Yunis, and she has lost countless family members in this genocide. In fact, she just told me their own daughter is still trapped in Gaza, and she can't get her family out. Many of us have those stories, but I think it's important that we end on a Palestinian voice and a Palestinian story. Please give a warm welcome to Jada. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, thank you for being here today. As we are gathered not only to mourn and remember, we're here also to demand justice. As a Palestinian Gazan, I stand before you today with a heart heavy with pain and grief. And as most Palestinian people, my story is full of pain, loss, and a relentless fight for justice. Along this genocide, and while our land itself cries for peace, it is drenched in blood and suffering, where every day feels like a battle for survival. Among those I left behind in Gaza is my beloved brother, who was abducted by the IDF from Al-Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, where he dedicated his life to saving others. He was not a combatant, he was a healer, a beacon of hope. Yet, even the sanctity of his workplace was violated, as he was torn from his duties and thrown into an abyss of uncertainty and despair. Today, on the International Day of Solidarity with Palestinian Prisoners, where we shine a light on the over 9,600 prisoners languishing in Israeli cages. Among them are women, children who endure unimaginable cruelty, torture, sexual abuse, and dehumanization on an ongoing basis. These prisoners are our brothers, sisters, our mothers, our children, and their suffering is a stain on the conscience of the entire world. Recently, we witnessed the grotesque irony of the world's indifference. Riots erupted in Israel, not for the release of the innocent prisoners, but for the release of soldiers who committed unspeakable atrocities against them. This is only a tip of the iceberg of the systematic abuse where the oppressed are vilified and the oppressors are shielded by a veneer of legitimacy. The suffering inflicted upon Palestinian prisoners is a testament to the broader injustice that plagues Palestinians everywhere, not just in Palestine, but everywhere else too. It is an extension of the same brutality that has led to the deaths and displacements of countless innocents. This is not a conflict. It's an ongoing crime against humanity, an ongoing ethnic cleansing, an ongoing genocide. And the whole world so far is allowing it to happen. But let me be clear. We are not here to seek pity. We are here to demand justice and to call for accountability and to insist on the end of this senseless violence. Our voices united in purpose are a force that cannot be silenced. We are here to say that We will not rest until every prisoner is freed, until every injustice is addressed, and until every drop of Palestinian blood is accounted for. To those who stand with us, your solidarity is our strength. Your advocacy fuels our hope. And to those who continue to oppress, know that the world is watching and history will remember. We will remember. We will forever remember, never forgive and never forget. We call on every leader, on every organization and every individual who believes in justice to join us in this fight. Stand with us, stand with me, every Palestinian, not just in words but in actions. Demand that governments take a stand against these atrocities and pressure institutions to hold those responsible accountable. The pain of losing my brother and my family and people does not really waken me and does not waken any other Palestinian. It empowers us. It fuels our struggle for dignity, freedom, and justice. Our fight is not just for today, it's for our children too. For the promise of peace and for the hope that one day justice will prevail. One day Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So I think maybe we might need to get some of our voices up here. Who's ready to do some chants? Yeah? Who wants the politicians and Melbourne to hear us? Free, free Palestine!
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 Now I wonder, could we possibly be louder? Can we make it louder? Free, free Palestine!
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 From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
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 Thank you, everyone. I think Melbourne heard us. Before we finish our rally, we have a final performance for you. His name is Muhammad Umran. He's a Palestinian singer, songwriter, living here in Nam. He incorporates Arabic sound in his music. He comes from a small village called Burin, which is on the outskirts of Nablus. I will say my mother is from Nablus. Burin is a beautiful town. It has the most beautiful flowers on its hills. It's near a very small town called Talouza. It's a very funny name. On the way to Wadi al-Bidan. For any of you who've ever been to Palestine, you will know how beautiful the hills of Palestine are and the Jewelry flower is. Please give Muhammad a warm welcome. He is going to be singing for us Muhammad Asaf's Ana Dammi Falastini. And for those of you who don't know, it means my blood is Palestinian. Thank you, everyone.
Make this a bit taller. I'm actually singing a different song, but that's okay. It's still by Muhammad Asaf. I'm gonna sing Mawal for you guys. It's called Palestine al-Habiba, which means Palestine the beloved. It talks about the word Palestine and what each letter means to us. So I'm going to sing that for you today. Oh, fo, 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 fo. والله يا حروف الوطن زي العقد في الصدر محلاه الفا فلسطين الحبيبة مغلى الوطن يا عرب مغلى واللام اللام اللام واللام لما توحدوا كان الحجر مقوى والسين سؤال السجين امتى الفرج الجاية والطا طلعت بدر على الشهيد في ثراه واليا يا اهل المراجل لم الشمل محلى واليا يا اهل المراجل لم الشمل محلى والنون نور النبي وقدسنا مصرا علي الكوفية علي ولولح فيها غني عتابة وميجانة وسامر فيها علي الكوفية علي ولولح فيها غني عتابة وميجانة وسامر فيها هز الكتف بحنية جفر عتابة ودحية هز الكتف بحنية جفر عتابة ودحية خلي البارود يهلل ويحليها خلي البارود يهلل ويحليها. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Muhammad. Now I'd like to remind you that we have a protest tomorrow. We know that Melbourne supports us. We know that every single day Australians and every single day people around the world, every single day workers, they support Palestine. I'd like to remind you that we have a protest every single Sunday. I see your faces there every single week. Please make sure you turn out. We're not stopping. We will always be going out into the streets of Melbourne to talk, to chant, to campaign for Palestine. But we do so much more. If only you can go to a Palestine protest, even if it's for once a week or once a month, please do. If you can get involved in your union groups, please do. If you want to vote for a candidate who supports Palestine in your council elections, please do. If you want to write to your own councillors, your own MPs, there is so much that we can do to support Palestine and make sure that the government and our representatives know Palestine is not forgotten. We will remind you. Thank you everyone. See you on Sunday tomorrow.
Thanks everyone. See you tomorrow.